Hey everyone, today we have one of the legends in the music industry, 20 years of experience. He is founder and CEO of Filmstro. Meet Seb Jaeger. Welcome to the show, Seb.
Hi, Pratik. Yeah, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
I'm impressed by the journey that you had so far with Filmstro. And maybe to start with, we should have a bit more background about you and how you got into the music industry. What inspired to be here?
Sure. Okay, so I've been a musician all my life, so that's my particular background. And I worked for several years in the media landscape, so creating music for media projects, including sort of prestige clients like, I don't know, Johnny Walker and the Olympics and, TV stuff or whatever, and lots of commercials as well. And while it's super fun creating music, it didn't feel like that was maybe the kind of best use of my music, if you see what I mean. So it was kind of nice to talk to other professionals as well. And we started having conversations about a pain point that I was experiencing, basically. And I think that's what led me to look at things a little bit deeper. So what happened was, when I was writing music commercially, I would often get people trying to brief me, and it was people who didn't understand music.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a kind of interesting kind of clash between the kind of visual storytelling and the culture around visual language, which of course loads and loads of creative people are super visual, right? They've been to art college or, marketing backgrounds or kind of visual storytelling backgrounds of filmmakers. And then on the other hand, you have people like me who are like super auditory, right? We just, hear things really well. We've got a background in music or audio engineering or sound design or whatever. And so when people talk about music to try and brief a composer, in my case, it often got a bit confusing because the language they would use would not be the language that I would use. So we had a bit of a kind of translation issue.
So I am like, a Filmstro user myself. I tried the product. I'm blown away by the innovation that you brought into this industry. I'm excited to hear, what inspired you to create this and how did you come up with the idea?
Cool. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, the idea, I didn't wake up one day going, I want to create a better mousetrap, or a nicer tasting chocolate bar or something like that. I was working in the industry and I was frustrated that there wasn't a way in which people who weren't musical could easily communicate about music. So I basically started doing this kind of like project in my sort of spare time of taking a piece of music and breaking it down into all the different parts that make up a piece of music. And I was trying to add labels to each part that would be a visual label that a non-musician would understand. So I would maybe talk about shading or highlights or, color and things like that instead of using, technical musical terms. Anyway, I was sharing this with clients or co-workers or colleagues or people I was collaborating with, some of whom were like script writers, novelists, film directors, etc. And they stopped me at one point and went, this is actually kind of interesting. If you could make this into a product and give people who are not musical the ability to not only talk about music in a way that makes sense, but doesn't require musical knowledge, but then go one step further and actually allow them to change the music, make changes to the music based on, just a handful of like simple.
I wanna just maybe share something,
Yeah.
As I signed up to Filmstro. My personal use case, I listen to music while I'm focused on working on certain tasks.
Mm-hmm.
So I created my own music, the way I like it.
Yep.
It was customized to my choice.
Yep.
It was like something amazing, right? I have no idea on how music beats work, but still as an end user, it's amazing to have a product like this in the market. I want to know, how did this product evolve since its launch? Maybe you want to share, when did you launch? How did you,
Sure.
how many customers are using it, and who are the ones who are using it?
Sure. Okay. So, I mean, I'll try and get this as quick as possible. So we set up 2014. We took a whole year to build our first prototype, which actually was on, the demo was on like an iPad, originally it was on an iPad, which was amazing because you could use your hand to just control a full epic orchestra with just 3 fingers, and changed like the 3 main parameters of music, which is like the building blocks of music that we're kind of exposing with this product. We then took some more time and took some investment to build the first native application, which was for Mac only at the time. We then, grew a team to then build it for Windows PC as well. And then we met Adobe in 2017, and were, I think, the first music company to do a music integration with their quite new at the time panel architecture. So we built a version of Filmstro which basically worked natively inside of directly inside of Adobe Premiere Pro, meaning that filmmakers could now control a piece of music and create, like you said, making the music change in the mood, the intensity, however, make it very, very unique, and then directly interact with that music with their main Premiere Pro timeline. And that was pretty special and something that really didn't exist before, which goes to your question about who uses it. I think it's, filmmakers who are kind of passionate about their craft or, have got the time and certainly work in something like an NLE, that this feels a really natural fit for them because it kind of just makes sense.
And who are the other end users that you came across while promoting your product in the market? Whether like podcasters, content creators, any other users that I would like to mention? Because there are a lot of audience that will be listening to this, right? So just kind of like having the use case if there is for other niche.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's so many examples, but I mean, just to give you a handful, I suppose one that springs to mind immediately is a marketeer, right? So somebody who works maybe as a solopreneur, or has got their own kind of 2-3 man kind of team, or works as part of a larger agency, but the emphasis is on maybe turning around campaigns quite quickly for like online marketing, for example. And so Filmstro would work really well if, for example, you have an edit where you've got several different versions. You might have a 60-second, a 30-second, a 45 commercial, maybe you've got a long 90-second TV version, whatever. And with Filmstro, you can just grab the track that you like, and then you can customize that one piece of music across all those different versions that you need in the campaign. And of course, your teammates can collaborate and say, oh, well, actually, can you change the momentum on this one? Can you change the power here? So you can very quickly customize things, and you don't have to basically relicense several pieces of music for a big campaign. It also doesn't cost very much, of course. That's the other advantage. I think we were the first music library to offer SaaS, basically, for production music in 2015, when we then officially went to market. That's one example. Another would be, just a kind of passion project, people. So if you've got a short film you've been laboring on, right? You've spent all your budget, on and persuading your friends to star in your short film, and you've borrowed equipment, and you've maybe even cheekily gone to locations you're not meant to try and film this thing that you're really passionate about, and you spend months and months. Why now throw it all away and ruin it in post-production by just grabbing some like cheap, not very good piece of music, maybe from, I don't know, some online marketplace where there's no curation, and the music, you can't change it. So now what happens, and this is a real pain point I want to address, is that content creators have become used to now, sadly, I think, cutting their video to fit with a piece of music that they've purchased from somewhere. But actually, it should be the other way around, right?
Yes.
It's, Steven Spielberg doesn't cut his film because of the John Williams music, right? That would be insane. It's John Williams' job is to make the music fit Steven Spielberg's vision. And I think
example actually, because at the end of the day, I record a lot of videos, and when I purchase something like from marketplace, it's like I needed to lower the volume in the end to make sure that it blends in the intro and outro. Again, it's not the great user experience. I'm sure filmmakers would be having a better use cases than I am. So I can relate to what you're saying, definitely. So what do you consider key factors to the success of Filmstro and your entrepreneurial journey?
I think I probably undervalued the impact that the SaaS model had initially. I think for me as a entrepreneur, I'm more a product guy. I'm more creative, rather than a sort of a businessman or somebody who's kind of focused on growth or kind of customer acquisition and those kinds of things. It's, for me, my passion is kind of, the analogy is I'm the father of this product, this child, and I just want it to do well in and of itself. Whether a lot of people love it or just a few people love it, that's kind of not so important to me. But I think the success was, definitely the combination of SaaS, because people were just like, oh, this is amazing. I can have unlimited music and I can use it across, pretty much all media. And then coupled with, of course, an affordable price point. but then the customizability has to be the reason. Ultimately, that's what it's about. It's the USP of, like we were saying about, not having to cut your. It's basically freedom. What we basically sell is the sense of control, so that you are not constrained by a piece of music that you can't change.
There's nothing, just asking, there's nothing like this in the market that I found. Like, I'm not sure about, better in this industry, but it's an incredible, like, it's a simple thing, but very powerful when it comes to, like, doing bigger projects. Now, I want to ask you, like, what trends you're seeing in the industry that could affect the way business operate in the music industry, for example?
Sure. Oh, well, God, that was a big question. I mean, I suppose, the big view, the really kind of broad stroke is that the industry, of course, has changed from everything being bespoke years and years ago, and composers being, employed to write music specifically for nearly every program that you would have watched on TV when you were a child. But in the last, 20 years or so, or more actually now, stock music and, stock as a general kind of trend has obviously become much bigger, much more prolific. So even big clients such as the BBC use stock audio now, and they use us. We're one of the BBC's music suppliers, but they only pretty much use composers now for like really, really high budget drama productions, and some kind of film stuff or theatrical release things. Everything else is now stock audio. So one big trend is definitely stock audio is here to stay, or stock in general is here to stay, because the quality is also good, and the availability is so easy. I mean, back in the day it was like, companies who had to physically send out big packs of CDs, to production companies and things like that. Now, of course, it's all so easy and online. So that's one thing. The other one is artificial intelligence, of course. AI is again something that's here to stay. I think there's been a false dawn with
that. Was my next question.
Okay.
How do you think that AI will impact the music industry? Because I'm sure, like, there might be plans in your mind to incorporate AI with the tool you have.
Definitely. I think AI is,
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. I think AI is super exciting. Again, in and of itself, nothing wrong with it whatsoever. I know the visual artistic community, of course, are kind of up in arms a little bit about generative AI for art and things. And I think similarly, musicians would feel the same. I think there's a big difference between using AI for things like improving search and discoverability, really kind of upping the ante on the algorithms that are used to kind of suggest similar music while you're searching, or, even making clever cuts. So for example, a great feature we'd like to do is where, the AI analyzes the video that you've uploaded and knows where the main cuts are and stuff like that, and then could, of course, already go ahead and create a template that sympathetically matches our music to your edit. So you've got even less to do now. However, what's really important to stress is that this does not mean we want to have no human contact. We like that we work with composers, creating real music with real musicians recorded properly. What I'm not passionate about is generative audio. So where the computer makes the sound itself.
So do you think that AI will, like, today, the creative side of things in marketing, for example, like the content, the pictures, are being created by AI, right? Like all of the content, even like, I asked AI, can you create 10 podcast questions for XYZ interviews that I'm going to take, right?
Mm-hmm.
Came up with like 10 questions, boom. Like,
yeah.
Do you think that would have similar impact in the music industry or video industry, for example?
I think so. I think it can. It depends what genre. So at the moment, and I'd love to say during my lifetime, I don't know how quick it's going to change, but at the moment, AI still can't produce cinematic music very well at all, which is a great relief, right? Because that means there's still obviously a big niche for us musicians to fill, and it can't compete with recording, a full 80-person orchestra, on a proper scoring stage for a cinematic, product. And there's a reason why Hollywood spends, and the game industry as well, by the way, spend millions and millions on music every year. So that I think is sort of safe, if you like, still. But where it's definitely making inroads is on the more electronic music side of things, where I'll be honest, I've heard things that AI has produced and it sounds pretty much indistinguishable from the real thing. So yeah, if your product is, hey, I just need a quick, electro track as a background thing for this short 30-second commercial, yeah, AI is definitely something that will solve that.
Interesting. Oh my God. There's one thing that I liked, which you mentioned, like, uploading the video that you have on the platform, and the AI could like actually create the balance and the cuts based on like, the size of the video. That can be like really good feature on the platform. But really interesting. I know that, working on the product, building such an innovative tool requires a lot of tech, planning, background, experience. What were the challenges that you were facing when you were building this? It is more on like, your entrepreneurial, like, passion to create something, but I'm sure you have come across like hurdles.
Oh yeah.
Would like to share some stories?
Sure. I mean, that's easy in a funny way, because the problems are very obvious straight, So I think I would say problem number one is, of course, as a passionate creative, I want to just make things, right? So, but that is already the issue, because if you make more than one product, now you've got two products to maintain, you've got two products to fix, you've got two products where you've got customer feedback to incorporate, you've got two products where, especially if those products also rely on third-party, plugins or other developers, or like, for example, our Adobe plugin or our Final Cut plugin, when Apple changes something, we have to change something. When Adobe changes something, we have to change something. And if you have those products for not just Mac, but then PC, suddenly you've got four products, So I think my learning has been, and this applies to features as well for just one product. Someone famously said, good product design is saying no 1,000 times. And I think that's something which I didn't really appreciate to begin with. I thought good product design was to say yes all the time, and say, oh, you want this feature? Sure, we'll put that in. And then someone else says, oh, I want this feature. We go, yeah, we'll do that. And before you know it, you've got a feature set which is really bloated. They call it feature creep. And you struggle to maintain it, particularly if, like I say, you have more than one product and supporting more than one platform, with some of those having interdependencies with other companies. So yeah.
Makes sense. Like, I can relate to this question. A lot of startups, they kind of like, want to innovate fast so that have more feature set for the users. Eventually, not all of the features are useful enough for the bigger audience. So it is very hard to manage overall. But that brings to like, our next round, which is more on like, your personal questions that I call as a rapid fire round. Okay. It's a trend going on in the podcast industry, and I thought like it might be interesting for our audience to listen from you. So there are sets of 5 questions. You'll have like 10 seconds to answer. Okay.
Okay.
10 seconds to answer each question.
Oh.
Name one other company and CEO that inspires you, and why.
Oh my goodness. That's the hardest one. I haven't. Oh, I would say Apple. I don't even know who the CEO is, but I would say there's one program. It's by Apple, and it's called Logic Pro. So whoever runs that thing is an absolute genius.
Super. What's one of the best business advice you've ever received?
Just laser focus. I think that, again, the phrase is the main thing is that the main thing is the main thing.
Okay, makes sense. What's one skill that has helped you become successful?
Probably, I'm going to answer that by saying it's not a skill. It's actually just it's a sort of, just something that I struggle with, or I have to live with, which is ADHD. So I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and it is my superpower, simply put, basically. Without it, I wouldn't be where I am today.
I agree. Because sometimes, like, when you're doing multitasking so much, it's sometimes a superpower in a way, because I feel the same when I am like juggling between things.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Now, there's one important thing that, I mentioned, each and every entrepreneur has a roller coaster ride, right? In your building a product, marketing it, bringing sales, maintaining that revenue, managing teams. Yeah. There is a roller coaster, our mindset, depression, sometimes anxiety.
Sure.
What motivates you the most in these times?
when it's tough, I think the thing that makes me carry on is showing people who've never seen it, the product, and just the joy and the smiling and the, oh my God, I didn't know I could do this. That is it. That's all I need. It's the validation.
Did you feel that when you showed me the product?
Absolutely.
I was actually blown away on how simple it is. Yeah, makes sense. When you show something that you created, it's a piece of art, actually. So
yeah.
Now, final question. I think it may be the simple one and the most difficult one. What movie or a book or a TV show changed your life?
Blimey. Okay. Again,
you can even name a music if you want.
Sure. No. I'm actually music. Well, Hans Zimmer stuff. Some music, yes. I mean, Hans Zimmer, absolutely amazing. My favorite soundtrack of all time is a film soundtrack, and it's basically most of the music in the film Inception. Absolutely, just amazing, perfect, pitch perfect.
Any book or movie you would like to recommend? Results.
Well, okay. So there's a book that I found useful in my journey, which was called, now what was it called? Lost and Founder. It's by the guy who set up Mozilla. I don't even know how to pronounce that properly.
Mozilla. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So
now I think we are towards the end of the session. Again, if anyone is looking to try Filmstro, they have a free trial, and also they have a lifetime plan, right, Seb?
Yeah.
You will also have some discounts going on. Sometimes I saw that you were on previous month when I visited into the site. So if you're looking to learn more about Filmstro, just try it out. I love the product, and if you need to learn more on how it works, you can reach out to Seb on LinkedIn, and he can probably give you a demo of the platform.
Absolutely. There's even easier is just simply to go to our site where you can just try it for free anyway. There's a little demo even on the landing page just to kind of get your head around the core USP. And yeah, my team is super, super responsive, and we're all here to,
And just to end with, we are going to do like a proper demo of the platform on LinkedIn Live. So stay tuned for the future dates. We will announce that on our LinkedIn page soon. So thank you so much for joining us today, Seb. It was really nice learning about your journey, your product, and hope that we will create a demo video soon on LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me, Pratik.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Until next time, this is Pratik Thakker signing off.